I've
You
got
there?
I've got the chat pulled up, so
And I will let everybody
waiting for
know
it to
that we're
start.
here. Hopefully, we'll get some live listeners tonight. We've been getting pretty good numbers on the YouTube videos, so I'm happy with that. Now, if they would just turn into subscribers, that would be even better. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, please.
Yeah. Audio sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I've got all of my tabs are open and good to go.
Yep, same. So I'm good to start whenever.
All right, here we go. Make sure I got the right thing on here. Yep, here we go. In three, two, one. Greetings, programs, and we're back for another episode of the Nerd Cave Retro Show. My name is Jason Robbins.
And my name is Derek Diamond.
So this weekend I finally finished Aliens Dark Descent after, let's see, I put in something like 1 day and like 18 hours, so almost 2 days of playing in that
Wow.
game. So, like, what is that? 2 days of 24 plus 18. That's what, like 42 hours or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of time to be spending in that game. It was a good game, though. I enjoyed it. But, man, it was long.
I've got to ask, how dark was the descent?
Oh, it was a descent, all right. It was. Good Lord, that game was long. Like, it was. I don't want to say. Well, I'll say it was. I would say it was about 15 hours too long. Like I was really getting to the point where I was just kind of like, I just wish this would hurry up and end.
Yeah, I every now and then you play a game like that, and it can still be good. But it's like watching a movie that you're like, yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, but it's like half an hour too long.
Yeah, because you're like getting into RPG territory once you get up above 40 hours. It's like, man, come on now.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean this ain't Skyrim
Yeah, no kidding.
or Tears of the Kingdom or anything like that.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good game. I recommend it if you like that kind of gameplay. That sort of it's a squad tactical type of almost dungeon crawler type of game, and it was nothing I've ever really played like that before. But it's definitely got some RPG elements where you like, you level up your Marines and all that kind of stuff, and they get new weapons and all that kind of stuff. So you get stronger as you go along. But man, some of those aliens are pretty tough. Like the queens, every time I saw a queen or heard that there was a queen coming, it was almost like remember that feeling you had when you heard the Big Daddy for the first time in BioShock? It's kind of like that.
I'd probably just turn around and run.
Yeah, that's
I'd
pretty
get too
much
scared.
what I would do in that situation. But how was your
Uh,
weekend? Did you do anything cool?
um, Worked mostly. Had a couple of events that I had to cover. So I had a lazy week. Funny enough, it's as I talked about last week on the show. We had the premiere of my wife's movie back on the
Mm.
first, and we just wanted to have what I call a normal week, where like I go to work, come home, might watch a little bit of TV, cook dinner, and then go to sleep.
What's
So
that
it's been
like? That sounds lovely.
it's it was quite nice. Things are going to pick up a little bit. I get to cover a Mardi Gras ball
Oh,
this
cool.
weekend, which is actually going to be pretty fun. Um, so yeah, that I haven't had a chance to really play anything, unfortunately. But I'm going to rectify that later this week. So other than that, just mostly trying to do as little as possible.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm actually going Thursday to speak with my realtor because I might have a chance to buy a house here soon. Which
Ooh.
I'm still in that mode where do I want to stay here? Do I want to move elsewhere? But I figure it might be a good idea to get a house that way. if I do decide to leave and go somewhere, I can always turn it into an Airbnb or, rent it out. Or it would just be nice to have, a little bit of extra income if I do something like that. Plus, apartment life is just killing me, man.
Yeah, I don't miss it. It's on one hand, it's nice because like if something breaks, it's not really your responsibility to fix it.
Yeah.
Which I have learned quite a bit about fixing stuff around around the house since I've been living here. But no, that's a smart idea. We've talked about you know moving to Colorado in the next year or two, and we've talked about turning this place into an Airbnb.
Yeah. And I just need more room. Just need more room.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a pretty sizable townhouse that I've lived in here for the past 5 years, but I've outgrown it. We've outgrown it. It's time to move on to have an actual home with storage space and things like that.
it's just a different vibe too. Just having your own place.
Oh, and this place
You
is cool
can
too.
fully kind of.
The place I'm looking at, if I do get it, it's got this room in the back that's like a movie room. So I'll be able to have, you can come over and we'll like watch movies and like I want to get like a popcorn machine to put in there. Like it's gonna be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely let me know how it goes. That's exciting.
Yeah. I'll keep everybody updated. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I know how life goes. Things can get in the way, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much. But it's kind of exciting to be like, yeah, I might be in a house here soon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But anything else before we go into the news? Got quite a few news stories to get to tonight.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it. And tonight's stories, as usual, they were all provided to us by Mr. Armez Jackson. And if you have a news story you'd like us to cover, send them to nerdcaveretro@gmail.com. And this first story is from GoNintendo.com. Rescue Loop story trailer shared coming to Switch fall of 2025. Roguelite action game Rogue Loops has been confirmed for a release on Nintendo Switch sometime in the fall of 2025. This will come after the game's initial Steam release this April, but alongside its release on other home consoles. Let's see. Doesn't say how much it's going to be. But this is kind of weird to me that they're still releasing stuff on the Switch. I mean, I know they are, but is this going to be out on the Switch 2? Because the Switch 2 is coming out this year too.
Only Nintendo knows for sure, and
Yeah.
we know that they ain't talking. At least not till April.
But this game
Which
looks
the-
pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not that big into roguelites, but if you're into that kind of game type, this might be right up your alley.
The trailer's really cool. It starts out showing these kind of like still animations explaining the story of the game, and then you get a little bit of the gameplay itself. So I'm with you. This isn't really like my thing, but it looks cool. If you're a fan of these types of games, I would definitely recommend at least checking out the trailer.
Yeah.
Because I even thought the trailer was well done.
But I imagine it's going to be on the Switch 2 as well. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, like I said, only Nintendo knows for sure.
Yep.
Our next story comes to us from the otakuauthority.com. Neon Inferno coming to PC and consoles in 2025. Grab your blasters and your favorite knives as Retroware and Zenobia Interactive join forces to publish Neon Inferno, coming to all platforms in Q3 of 2025. Taking inspiration from classic titles like Contra and Wild Guns, Neon Inferno splits the action into the foreground and background with a variety of enemies and bosses and levels set in a dystopian New York City of 2055. Yeah, the trailer for this actually kind of sold me on it. It feels very much like one of those like arcade games that you would play.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing.
Yep, graphics wise looks exactly like an arcade game from 1995.
Yep.
It looks really cool. I love the name Neon Inferno. But some of the key features: shoot close, aim far, a dynamic blend of side scroller and gallery shooter where the action takes place in both foreground and background, like playing Contra and Wild Guns at the same time, glorious 32-bit style, two-player co-op, and satisfying arcade challenge. Enjoy a playthrough on an easier mode or put your skills and resilience to the test with one credit clear arcade mode.
Yeah, I just
So
went
for you
to
old school
the.
fans,
If you want to, you can wish list it on Steam. Just go to neoninferno.com, and from there you can wish list it on Steam if that's where you want to play it. This looks so cool. I want to play this right now. This is awesome looking.
yeah, this looks like quite a bit of fun. This would be a great co-op game
Yeah.
to play. Shout out to Tyler and Rampage
Rampage.
in the chat.
This next story is from NintendoLife.com. Metroidvania Chronicles of the Wolf takes a few cues from Castlevania 2. Publisher, I don't even know how to say this, Pcube?
Sure.
Pcube?
Sure.
And Pixel Heart, alongside developer Megami Games, have revealed that their new Metroidvania Chronicles of the Wolf will be launching on Switch this summer. Will it also be on the Switch too? We shall see. This one looks like it will appeal specifically to Castlevania fans. It seems to be taking quite a few cues from Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. You got a day-night cycle, merchants, allies, and of course lots of beasts to slay. And another nod to Castlevania, it's also been confirmed that Robert Belgrade, famous for his role as Alucard in Symphony of the Night, will be providing narration duties.
That's cool.
I think I'm going to have to just go ahead and get this because this is singing all my praises right here.
Yep, I thought the exact same thing when I read this earlier and watched the trailer. I'm like, I know somebody who's going to be getting this.
It's definitely got a Castlevania vibes, like the especially 4 on the Super Nintendo. At least to me, it does. Yep. And I don't know. I love that aesthetic, and I just want to play this right now. I want to play this and Neon. What was the other one? Neon
Inferno.
Neon Inferno. Like I would play both of those right now if I had them on the Switch.
Yeah, this looks very much like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Castlevania 4 from the Super Nintendo. Mm-hmm. I like it. I mean, I would even give this game a shot, even though both those games frustrated me to absolutely no end.
And I think if
I'd still give it a shot.
Yeah, and I think if you're into Bloodstained too, like I was, the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon games, I think that this will be right up your alley because I love those games, and I think this is pretty much in that same vein.
Yeah, no, I agree. From NintendoLife.com, Switch is getting a new manga reader this March. It might be late in the Switch's life, but it seems there are still new apps coming to the system's eShop. With this in mind, Shogakukan will be launching a manga reader for the hybrid device on March 13th of this year. A post by Tatsuki Waki of the monthly Koro Koro comic shared this news. As you can see in the article, users will need to swap the system from horizontal to vertical. Apparently, the face buttons like X and Y are used to zoom in, so you need to keep your Switch Joy-Con on hand if they're not already attached to the system. And I didn't know this, but the Crunchyroll anime app is on the Switch eShop as well.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Huh. So I can watch Dragon Ball Z on my Switch.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like. I mean, this is really cool. I hate that they've waited for practically the end of the system's lifespan to do it, but like I'm gonna keep my Switch even after the Switch 2 comes out. So will I get this? Probably not, because I don't really read manga. But for those that do, I think this is really cool.
Chuck says, watching from the parking lot of a very busy Walgreens. Entertain me. That's what we're doing, sir. We're trying.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
One of the greatest movie quotes ever.
I imagine if this is coming out so late in the Switch cycle, I imagine it's going to be on the Switch too. So I pretty much think anything that's being announced for the Switch right now is going to be on the Switch too.
It'll come out for the Switch 2 in July of 2029.
Yeah, right before the Switch 3. And I think this is the last story, isn't it? Last story
Hmm.
from the otakuauthority.com. Operation Night Strikers is coming to Switch, adds Operation Thunderbolt and Space Gun. Taito and M2 have announced that the upcoming collection Operation Night Strikers will also include Operation Thunderbolt and Space Gun. And there will also see a release on Switch alongside its previously announced Steam version in 2025. Operation Wolf and Night Strikers, two milestones of the 80s arcade movement in one action-packed compilation. Relive all the high-speed arcade thrills and explosive spills. The title lineup is Operation Wolf, the arcade, Famicom, NES, Sega, and Sega Master System versions, Operation Thunderbolt, the arcade and Super Nintendo versions, Night Striker, the arcade and Mega CD versions, and Space Gun, the arcade and Sega Master System version. Now, this sounds pretty cool because I remember playing Operation Wolf in the arcade back in the day, and every time I see an Operation Wolf, I have to play it. That was such a cool game.
I'm not very familiar with these, but I wish they had put a trailer with the article. I mean, maybe there is one on YouTube that
Yeah,
I
there
could check
might
out,
be.
but it's a pretty good lineup. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got multiple versions of four different games, so I think that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, it doesn't give a price or anything, but let me click the Steam link just to see how much if they're even charging for it yet. Yeah, it's not even, they don't even have a price yet. It's still not available yet. It says planned release date 2025, and we're still early in 2025, so we don't know when exactly it's going to be.
So between now and December 31st,
Yeah.
keep your eye out for Operation Wolf.
And that's going to bring us to the end of the news, and now it's time for this month in video game history. In February of 1982, Atari releases Haunted House for the 2600, which is later considered one of the first survival horror games, which I need to go back and finish that remake they did a while back that I reviewed on the show here, because I never finished it because it's, it's like you die and start. It's like a roguelike where you die and go again, die, go again, die, go again. I just kind of got tired after like my 500th death.
Yeah, and I every time we talk about this game, I just love the cover art for the original version. It,
It's
it kind
so
of reminds
cool.
me of one of those like 70s horror movie posters.
I actually watched somebody do a complete gameplay of Haunted House for the Atari 2600 not too long ago. And there was a lot going on in that game. Like if you didn't have the instruction book with it, you would have been completely lost on how to play that game. It would have made no sense to you.
Yeah, I can imagine so. February 17th of 1984, Nintendo launches the initial version of a little-known boxing game called Punch-Out,
Never heard of it.
which was released for the arcade before it I mean we all I think for the most part think of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from back in the day, and I forget that there was a version before that.
Still, even though I'm not a huge fan of the original Punch Out for the arcade. I mean, it was fun. I'll play it if I see one. But man, Mike Tyson's Punch Out and then just regular Punch Out for the Nintendo is still one of the top 5 best games for the Nintendo. And still probably the best boxing game that's ever been made. I will stand on that hill and die on it.
I can't really think of too many boxing games that came out after that. I mean, I know you had Wii Boxing as part of the Wii Sports bundle that you got with the Wii when it launched. But I can't really think of any other boxing games.
Man, I know I played some for the original Xbox, but man, nothing will ever compare to the original Punch Out.
Nope.
Oh, is
You're
it
up
my turn?
next.
Oh, sorry. Uh, professional podcaster here, everybody. February 14th of 1991, DMA Design releases Lemmings, a puzzle game that requires the player to lead a group of anthropomorphic lemmings through a dangerous environment to an escape portal. Did you ever play Lemmings? Because I remember this game being heavily advertised when I was a kid.
It was featured on the cover of Nintendo Power at one point, I believe.
Yeah, I had that issue.
I have not. I do want to review this at some point this year because we've talked about it every year that it's come up on gaming history. And I remember the Nintendo Power cover and I remember it being advertised, but I never played it.
You know, it was because of this
So,
game and Disney that made me believe for the longest time that Lemmings committed suicide when it was
yeah.
all crap. It's all Disney's fault for throwing these poor animals off of a cliff for a movie.
You know what's funny is like, and to go off on a small tangent, we had some traumatic animated movies growing up.
Yeah, you think?
Like kids today don't like they have like parents that are nice and treat them well, and then you look at like The Land Before Time and Littlefoot's mom's murdered by a freaking T-Rex in the
Yeah.
first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like still one of the saddest scenes of any movie that I can remember.
Yeah, I still can't watch that movie to this day. Like, that movie scarred me when I was a kid.
Thanks, animated
Yeah.
studios around the world.
They tried to just just ruin us when we were kids, man.
Yeah. Trying to educate us on the real world early. February 10th of 1997, Mario Kart 64 is released for, of course, the Nintendo 64 in North America. I've said this before, and I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but I think this game's kind of overrated. I can think of at least 5 Mario Kart games that I enjoy more,
Yeah.
including the original,
Didn't
which
you-
doesn't hold up as well as people think.
Didn't you review this one a long
I
time
did.
ago? Yeah.
It was better than I remember, but it was just kind of one of those things like with Double Dash, you had the element of having a second rider.
Yeah.
So it made it different. To me, it just felt kind of like the same as Super Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a terrible game, but I would put the majority of the Mario Kart titles over it. It just never, I don't know, it never stuck with me.
I don't think very much for the Nintendo 64 holds up very well.
No. Which that also surprises me as to why Nintendo hasn't done like a legit remake of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Because as beloved as those games are, they're ugly to look at
Yeah.
from the N64. I mean, they re-released them for the 3DS and they did clean it up a little bit. So it's the graphics are more tolerable, but I'm sure they will at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
they've got to.
Eventually, maybe right before we're dead, we'll be in the old folks' home playing
That'll-
the remaster.
That'll be my the gift that I get on my deathbed.
Yeah. February 9th of 2004, Metroid Zero Mission is released for the Game Boy Advance in North America.
I can't believe this game is 21 years old. This is a remake of the original Metroid game. And I do remember enjoying this, quite a bit.
Doesn't it make you feel old when a remake of something is 21 years old?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school when this came out.
Let's see, 2004, I was 27 years old at the time.
Anyway,
Yeah, let's move
to close
on.
us to close us out. Well, I mean this one isn't going to be any better. February 22nd of 2005, Polyphony Digital and Sony release Gran Turismo 4 for the PS2 in North America. Gran Turismo 4
Yeah,
later this month will be 20 years old.
crazy. I thought they were still on Gran Turismo 4, but they were, man, oh my God.
Yeah. This is the depressing part of
Dude,
gaming history.
we
Like on one hand, I'm like, Wow, I can't believe these games are now 20 years old.
Can we stop doing video game history now? Because
I
used to
mean,
be, it was like, oh, 1986, this one thing happened. That was so long ago. But now it's like 2005 was so long ago. And I'm like, oh my God, how old am I?
I mean, on one hand, I do like it when we get to a new year to see like, okay, well, this now turns 20 years old because
Yeah.
I truly can't believe that Gran Turismo 4 is 20 years old.
Yeah, no. I
Wasn't
mean,
there a Gran Turismo movie that came out like a year or two ago?
was there? I know there was a Need for Speed movie.
I'm pretty sure there was a Gran Turismo movie.
I don't know. I mean, they
Let's
made
see.
10 of them and they called them Fast and Furious.
Well, those were all about family.
Yeah.
Those weren't really about racing. Um, yeah, there is a Gran Turismo
Oh,
movie came out in 2023.
wow. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, it has David Harbour who plays Hopper in Stranger
Oh,
Things.
okay.
He's in it.
I'll watch that if he's in it. I love
Yeah,
him.
yeah. No, he's my favorite character
Speaking
from
of
that
David
show.
Harbour, I'm so freaking excited for Stranger Things final season to finally be here.
Oh, that show has just gotten like the first season was great,
These kids are going to
but
be
it
older than
gets
us
better.
by the time
Yeah,
they get done with it.
I know. I can't wait till they release the first trailer for it.
Yeah, I
It's going to
was.
be so good.
Have you seen that movie Saturday Night yet? The movie about Saturday Night Live.
No, but I want to.
It's so good. And I'm sitting there watching it, and Finn Wolfhard is in it. He's not. It's not in a big part, but he's playing a basically like a barker where he stands out. He's standing outside the studio trying to get people to come in to see the first episode of Saturday Night Live. And dude, he looks like he's like 35 years old. I'm just like, how are these? I hope he's still not playing a teenage kid and strange. I hope there's like a time jump at least to explain how much older they are now.
Because they were stretching it with that last
I
season.
know. God.
I'm sure there will be.
I
At least
hope
I hope
so.
there is.
But if you haven't seen Saturday Night, I highly, highly recommend that movie. It's so good.
I've heard good things about it. There's a documentary too about the making of Saturday Night Live that I've seen like bits and pieces of, but I want to sit down and watch the whole thing. They had this whole section on some of the musical guests that they've had, and as soon as I saw it flashed the infamous Ashley Simpson
Yeah.
incident where she was
Yeah.
got caught lip syncing, and that pretty much killed her career.
Oh man, but dude, in that movie, I forgot who it is, but the guy that plays Dan Aykroyd, you would swear you're looking at at Dan Aykroyd in 1975. Like, dude, he freaking nails it. Like, if they
That's
ever
awesome.
do a Dan Aykroyd like biopic, that guy needs to play him.
That's awesome. I can't wait to watch it.
It's so good. Let me know when you do, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But that's going to bring us to the end of this month in video game history. But before we go into the review, Derek always does our Patreon shout-outs.
As always, we like to shout out our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. We want to shout out Romualdo Marquez, Mr. Wally Phelps, Brian Piotrowski, Nick W., Eld the Zombie, Yup Fed aka Knife, James aka at Jimbo Jr., Raven, Danny House, Justin Nispel, Daniel Salmon, Mr. B. Res Coffee himself, Mike Eveland, Tyler Watson, Axeblade07, Armez Jackson, Carlos Longoria, aka I am the Rampage, Staff Sergeant Sketch, Gus and Penny, Matthew Salmon, Mr. Joey Potato, and of course,
Mama Diamond.
Donna Diamond. Thank you all so much for your continued contributions and keeping the lights on for us here at the Nerd Cave Retro Show. And for as little as $1 a month, you get your own RSS feed with
None.
zero ads. You get uninterrupted podcast for as little as $1 a month, and you get early access to our bonus episodes, which for the most part includes a commentary track for a animated show or a full-length movie. Some of the previous commentary tracks we've done, if you're a newer listener to the show, Batman 1989, Transformers the movie, the infamous Super Mario Brothers movie, not the good one, Thunder in Paradise, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, Real Ghostbusters. The list is near endless on what we've done. So you get those about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of the general public. So it only costs you as little as $1 a month.
But every time I see Joey Potato in the notes, it's like I forget. As soon as I forget about it, I see it, and it brings me joy all over again. I can't
We're
wait.
gonna have to come up with all kinds of like variants for Joey.
Joey Potato. That's it's just funny. I love that so much. But yeah, we're gonna be doing this month. I think we were supposed to do Mr. Belvedere last month, like a round table about Mr. Belvedere, but we didn't get to it because I got sick. But I think we're going to put that on the back burner, and I think we might do our D&D campaign for this month, like a little short, one-off D&D campaign. We might split it into 2 episodes, but we got to create our characters and all that kind of stuff. So that should be coming up towards the end of the month. So go give us a buck, and you'll get access to all that stuff.
And if you want to do that, just head over to patreon.com/nerdcaveretro. And for new patrons, be sure to send us your social media information so we can give you a proper shout out.
And tonight, going to be talking about... Duke Nukem 3D is a first-person shooter developed by 3D Realms. It is a sequel to the platform games Duke Nukem and Duke Nukem 2. You don't say. It features the adventures of the titular Duke Nukem, voiced by John St. John, who fights against an alien invasion on Earth. Along with Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, Duke Nukem 3D is considered to be responsible for popularizing first-person shooters and was released to major critical acclaim. And I don't know about you, but I might have to make a confession here. I had never played an actual Duke Nukem game until I played this last week.
No, I haven't either, honestly. I remember, this being like one of the big things. Like there's certain properties that I think of and like I instantly go back to the 90s. And this is one of them. Like I put this up there with, like Beavis and Butthead, some of the classic Nickelodeon cartoons, various MTV shows. So I think it's a pretty significant part of 90s culture, personally.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this game was huge. I just never really played it. I mean, I played a lot of Doom, played a lot of Wolfenstein back in the day, but I never played any of the Duke Nukem games, and I don't know why, but I knew all about them. I mean, I'd obviously seen people play them because, I know all the little quips that he says and all the little Duke Nukem isms that he says. It's like that's sort of just in the zeitgeist. It was such a huge deal, but I'd never played any of these games before, and playing this one this last week, and my first note in the review was, I am absolutely terrible at this game. I am not good with using mouse and keyboard for this particular game, which thing is, I can use mouse and keyboard I actually like using mouse and keyboard for shooters, but for this one, I just could not get my head around the controls for this game, and I played the DOS version of this game, and I did, there have been a lot of remasters of this game. Like they did, I wrote in my notes, I'd like to try Duke Nukem 64, which was a port of this game. And there's also an Xbox 360 version that came out, I think around 2007, 2008. And there is there's a 20th anniversary edition that came out for the Xbox One, PlayStation 3, I think, or PlayStation 4 back in 2016. And I looked at the trailer and some of the gameplay for it. It looks great. And I looked it up to see if it was on Game Pass, and it's not on Game Pass, but it was on sale this past weekend for $1.99. And I was tempted to get it, but I asked myself, am I really going to play this? There's so much other stuff I need to play. And am I going to spend, even though it's only $2, am I really going to put any time into it? Not really. So I'd say if you're gonna play this game, that's probably the one you're gonna want to play, because this one was not that fun to play.
Isn't it interesting how a lot of those shooters from back then, they actually work really well with a mouse and keyboard, and then you have games like this that aren't. I've
Yeah,
I've tried using a mouse and keyboard for a shooter like this, and I don't know if it's just because I didn't grow up playing computer games really all that much. I just can't do it. I have to have a controller to be able to do it.
well, I need to be able to remap my keys to put them the way I
Right, yeah.
want them to be, because I am used to, a WASD keyboard play scheme, like, for that I've played things, played Borderlands that way. Borderlands 2, played mouse and keyboard. The WoW. I love the keyboard. Keyboard and mouse that WoW uses, like all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't. It wouldn't let me change my keys where I played this, and I played it on. What's the name of this site that we use? It is.
Classic
Yeah,
games.
playclassic.games is where I played this at. And it doesn't let you change the keyboard mapping for it.
That's
So
lame.
it was just really hard for me to kind of get used to the default settings that it was on. So I'm just wondering if I would have had a better time if I would have played a newer version of this game, like the 360 version or the 20th anniversary version. I don't know, but there's just I thought I was gonna get a huge nostalgia hit for playing this, but really didn't do much for me. I just got done playing, not too long ago, the boomer shooter bolt gun, which is a lot like this, and I had a blast playing bolt gun, but for some reason this game here, it just didn't do anything for me.
You think part of that might be because you didn't play it when it originally came out?
Probably because a lot of the humor just kind of fell flat for me, and I just felt like it's like 11-year-old middle school humor is what this game is. And I'm okay with that, but I don't know, it just kind of fell flat for me. And I even wrote, I was like, this game is so 90s, I need some gushers and ecto coolers. What time does In Living Color come on again? Like, it feels like the 90s. Like, I would have enjoyed this game back then. I would have played this a lot back then, probably, but I just never did.
And that's a pretty common thing ever since we've been doing this show. Is we've gone back and revisited some of our favorite games that we played growing up, or even we mildly played. But those that, even though they came out in the 90s, if you didn't grow up with it, it's not gonna quite hit the same.
Yeah,
Like I mentioned, I know Duke Nukem more just for the cultural impact. Like I know it's a
same.
video game, and I know of like the storyline, I know of the character, but if I were to sit and play a Duke Nukem game right now, I would probably have the same opinion that you do.
Yeah,
It wouldn't really hit home for me. Like, yeah, it'd be cool on one hand because you're experiencing something from the 90s, but it's just different when you actually like grew up with it and followed it.
yeah. And I think that's just what it was. Just I had no nostalgia for this game. Tyler in the chat says, who is our fact checker to the fact checker, says Duke Nukem Time to Kill is a third-person action adventure game on the PS1 where Duke travels through time, and it's pretty fun. That sounds. I might check that out one of these days. I mean, I'd love to play some more Duke Nukem games. I don't think this is going to be the only one I'm ever going to play, but just kind of, I just felt like this was such a definitive game because it, Duke Nukem 3D, like it was the game. I remember this game being advertised just all over the place in comic books and magazines. Everywhere you looked, it was Duke Nukem 3D. But I don't know. I don't know if it was because I just wasn't really into gaming at the time, because this did come out in '96, and that's when I was kind of in my first year of college and just not playing video games and stuff at the time. So maybe that's why it just kind of slipped on by me, because I just wasn't playing a lot of games at the time.
Yeah, and I do get that. And I like games like this, but I'm not really any good at them.
Yeah.
Like I will admit, as much as I've praised a game like Halo, I love playing it, even though I don't really consider myself to be that great at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We've mentioned that there are some things that should remain in the decade that it was set in.
Yeah. This is
Would you
definitely
classify
that.
Duke Nukem as this?
Yeah. It should stay firmly in the 90s where it belongs. Like, I just don't think the humor works anymore. I mean, maybe if I was 11 years old again, the humor would work on me, but I don't know. It's just something about it that just kind of, I don't know, kind of irritates me a little bit. I can't explain it. It doesn't. And I wrote, let me go through some more of my notes here. Like, this game has steroids. Like, that's some of the humor in the game. Like, just literal steroids that you pick up in the game to enhance yourself. Let's see. Let's see. I already talked about how I'd like to try Duke Nukem 64, the 360 version. Yeah, the graphics needed a serious upgrade, because I started to get a headache after about an hour, and I had eye strain for a day and a half after playing this game.
Oh my God.
It's so hard to look at.
Those computer games from that time, we talk about how the N64 hasn't aged well.
Mm-hmm.
There's bad, and then, as we say here in the South, there's bad.
Yeah.
This is bad.
It's so pixelated, and just these games, even though they're newer games, especially the boomer shooters and stuff they're putting out now that kind of capture this feel of that kind of very pixelated graphics, but we're just so much better at it now, and it does hurt your eyes to look at it. But man, playing the original MS-DOS version of this was just like, it was like sandpaper to the eyes. Like, it was awful.
Makes you appreciate what we have now.
Yeah.
So you're like,
Very
you
much.
look back, 30 years, and we didn't know any better back then.
I mean, and it's a Duke Nukem game. Everybody knows what Duke Nukem is. He just goes through with it and gets all these kind of crazy guns, killing demons and aliens and all kind of stuff. I mean, it's a Doom clone from back in the day. And if you've never played it, I would say definitely go give it a try on playclassic.games, because it's the original MS-DOS version. And if you want to play an updated version of it, there's plenty of other versions of this game to play. I mean, like I said, they did a 20-year anniversary edition in 2016 for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4. They even got the original John St. John to come back and redo some lines for it. It's got all new levels in it and all kind of stuff. And apparently it was pretty good, because it got a lot of great reviews, like 9 out of 10s, but I just never played it. Because I remember whatever the Duke Nukem Forever, that was supposed to come out and took like 20 years to develop was like, I don't know, and then it came out and just completely just fell flat on its face, just kind of like, I'm probably never gonna play a Duke Nukem game whenever that happens. So this just completely just went on by, and I didn't even give it a second look until now.
Yeah, I remember when Duke Nukem Forever came out, and I'm like, this took way too long.
Yeah,
Like society has changed. You know, it's a on one hand it's a cool reflection of the time, but like pop culture and society was just so different in the 90s than it is now.
yeah,
So
that's the
it's
thing.
it's not gonna hit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you're not into just straight up 90s style humor, if that's not your thing, you're not going to enjoy this at all, because this is basically just a parody of the action movies of the 80s and early 90s. It's sort of like it's like what's the guy in The Simpsons that was the Arnold Schwarzenegger, like
Oh
Wolf
crap.
Bane? Like, it's like that, but a video
Yeah.
game, and that's basically what this is. So it's a parody. It's 90s humor. It's a Doom clone. So if you're into that, go try it out. But for me personally, I just didn't get much out of this game, and I would eventually like to try the 20th anniversary edition, and I'll try some other Duke Nukem games in the future. But this just kind of didn't really make me want to dive into the whole Duke Nukem, pantheon.
That's the unfortunate thing about the pop culture references and the parodies is that they usually don't age well.
Yeah,
There's a very, very rare case because I remember playing Gex. I think it was last year or the year before, and that had references to movies from like the 90s and early 2000s. And that happened also in Conker's Bad Fur Day because that came out in '01 and it referenced Clockwork Orange,
yeah,
it referenced The Matrix. And I'm thinking, wow, these don't really hold up that well.
yeah. And I
So
think with
it's a
some,
double-edged sword.
with some of the controversy that surrounds Duke Nukem, with its the way it portrays women and all that stuff. I think 2016 was cut real close to the Me Too movement, and I don't think Duke Nukem works in today's world. It's a very niche audience if he does have a new game come out.
Yeah, I think this is a franchise that like it can be fun to talk about like, oh yeah, I remember Duke Nukem. You
Yeah.
obviously quite a few people played it, but in 2025, I just don't think it has the same appeal because like I said earlier, it's a different time, it's a different culture, it's a different society. It's different it's just a different time.
Yeah. And you look at some of the let me look at some of the scores here. The reception of the game, a positive aggregate score on Metacritic. The original MS DOS holds an aggregate score of 89% on Game Rankings and a score of 89 out of 100 on Metacritic. The version released on Nintendo 64 scored 74 on Game Rankings and 73 out of 100 on Metacritic, and the 360 version had a score of 81 on Game Rankings and 80 out of 100 on Metacritic. And it doesn't have anything for the 20th anniversary edition, but I would say if you're going to play any of these versions, I would say probably just go for the 360 version or the 20th anniversary. You'll probably get a lot more out of it than I did, because as far as the MS-DOS version, I just didn't enjoy it, and the I couldn't get the controls to do what I wanted to do, and it's a 5 out of 10.
I'm surprised it's that high.
I don't want it to go too low because I don't want people to kill me because I know people love this game.
Yeah.
But it's not broken. It's not a broken game. It's just we don't play games that way anymore. And I think probably if I play the newer versions of the game, I would definitely give it higher rankings. But as far as the original MS DOS version, no, I don't. I did not enjoy it at all.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate thing is that, not every review on the show is going to be like, oh, I give this game a 9 or a 10 out of 10 because
Yeah.
I have zero complaints with it. There's going to be some stinkers, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, Duke Nukem is one of them.
And I'm glad I played it because I never played any Duke Nukem games before. But I think the next time when I do play another Duke Nukem game, it's going to be a newer version of something. I don't want to go back to these old MS DOS shooters because they're just too hard to go back and play that way.
Yeah. Well, speaking of playing something for the first time, I'm going to be playing a game that I'm going to be reviewing next week that I have played it, but it was like very briefly, so it's gonna be like a whole new experience. I'm gonna be reviewing Jet Set Radio for the Dreamcast, and
Awesome.
we were talking about this before the show. This game was pretty heavily marketed, and it's got a really cool style to it, and I'm excited to check it out.
Yeah, and Armez Jackson in the chat room says, I believe there's a Duke Nukem collection on the Evercade. And he said, have you guys seen the original PC games? Talk about horrible. Ugh. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot of those games that like I don't even know if I could go back and play them how they originally were,
Yeah.
just because of how bad they look.
Not only that, but just trying to play with mouse and keyboard on
Yeah.
back then, like we just didn't have that stuff figured out yet.
Yeah, we've come a long way
Yeah.
since the 90s.
And after next week, like Derek said, he's going to be doing Jet Set Radio. And after that, we're going to be doing a top five, but we're not going to let you know what that top five is until next week. It's a Joey suggestion, a Joey Potato suggestion for a top five we're going to do.
In spirit of him, we should do top 5 potato chips.
I like it. And I do have a listener review on the Discord. So if you're a member of our Discord community, you can go to the listener reviews, write up a little review, and we will read it right here on the show. This one is from our community manager, Bethany Fox. The game I'm reviewing is Nobody Saves the World. And I will say I went and looked at some gameplay of this on YouTube a little while ago. It looks so fun. It looks like a very Diablo-ish dungeon crawler, but very cartoony, and I dig that.
All right.
But it's called Nobody Saves the World. It was developed and published by Drinkbox Studios. I love that game, that name. That's awesome, Drinkbox. It is an action role-playing game played from a top-down perspective. The game can be played solo or in a cooperative multiplayer mode. In the game, the player controls a blank slate character named Nobody who is equipped with a wand. The wand allows them to transform into 18 forms, such as a magician, a robot, and a dragon. Each form has 2 basic skills at the beginning. As players progress, abilities are unlocked. These characters have different stats and attributes. The skills and the abilities of different forms can be combined to create devastating attacks. Other forms can share the gameplay benefits of one form when it was unlocked. As players explore the overworld and dungeons, which are procedurally generated, players need to complete quests and gameplay objectives in order to earn experience for upgrades and star, a currency which is used to unlock the legendary dungeons featured in the game. Excuse me. These dungeons are filled with enemies and traps, though players may find treasure chests and hidden keys if they explore an area thoroughly. In each of the game's dungeons, the only respawn point is located in the area where the player is about to encounter an enemy boss. The game has a cartoon style to it, and it's very funny and quirky to play. You can unlock new abilities for all your forms, and you can use your abilities on all of your forms, including character-specific ones when you unlock them. There is strategy to the game, and you to use most all your forms to progress and finish the game Once you do, you can play through New Game Plus with your level and forms as they are when you finish the game the first time. I love New Game Plus. New Game Plus increases the difficulty so it's not a walk in the park. The game does have couch co-op options so your friend or partner can jump in at any time to help you play. Music is good from what I can remember and is pleasant to listen to. Game scored well overall, with reviewers giving it anywhere from 7 to 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed this game and basically got all achievements besides 2, so I'm going to give this game a score of 9 out of 10. It's fun, quirky, and at times funny. It's challenging, but you just want more, and the DLC adds a bit more fun and challenge to the game. And like I said, I looked at the some of the gameplay from the developers on YouTube, and this game looks really fun. I'm going to have to try this out. It does look really fun to play.
Yeah, the animation style is really cool. I love that. I mean, I'm a big fan of animation anyway,
Yeah.
but I like the really bright, colorful, quirky kind of style that it has. So
Yeah.
this seems like a lot of fun.
So I'm going to check it out. But name of that game again, everybody, is Nobody Saves the World. Go check it out. And I think it's pretty much available everywhere. So go check it out.
Yeah.
And that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. Derek, we're at the end. It's
We
always
made it.
sad when we get to the end of the episode.
Yeah, it always goes by really fast.
I know.
I can't believe it's already been practically an hour.
And
Seems
it's
like we
Monday.
just started.
It's the only. It's you look forward to doing the show on Monday because Mondays are awful. Like you said before the show, Garfield said it best. Mondays are terrible.
Yep. Well, it's also a good way to, start the week.
Yeah.
I think so anyway.
But go play you some Duke Nukem, everybody. You probably will get more out of it than I did. So go play wherever your Duke Nukem is sold.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for this week. Derek, tell everybody what's going on before we get out of here.
You can head over to facebook.com/plainjanemovie to look at some photos from the premiere of the movie that happened a couple of weeks ago. There's also several behind the scenes photos you can look at. The trailer is posted there as well. We are going to start submitting it to festivals in a couple of weeks, so all updates will be posted there.
Awesome. And go check out the Open Micers Podcast at Open Micers Podcast on Instagram, Threads, and go listen to this last week's episode where me and Jacob talk about how bad he bombed in Mobile last weekend, opening up for Mo Alexander, and he blamed it on an innocent bystander. And we talked about what we would do if we won the lottery. So go check it out, the Open Micers Podcast, openmicers.com. And Derek, is that everything for this week?
I think so.
Let's get out of here. If you want to email us at openmicrospodcast@gmail.com. Nerdcaveretro.com is our link tree. That takes you everywhere you need to go. All the socials, all the ways to give us money, our Patreon, and of course our merch shop, ncrmerch.com, where you can go get all kind of stuff over there. T-shirts, hats, magnets, bags, mugs, whatever your nerdy heart desires. We got all kind of designs over there to go check out. Even just go check it out. We got all kind of stuff over there. And if you can't do that, can't leave us any money on Patreon, like, man, I'm broke. Christmas just happened. I'm poor. I get it, you guys. Go leave us a review. That's what you can do. Leave us a review and a 5-star rating on all podcasting platforms. Derek, please tell them what it's all about.
Wow.
They conducted rituals up on the roof. Bizarre rituals intended to bring about the end of the world, and now it looks like it may actually happen.
So be good, for goodness sake. Whoa, somebody's
We
coming.
have to get out of here. We've got to find a judge or something.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey.
I've been on a Ghostbusters kick lately for some reason.
I can
there's
tell.
a really good. Before we go, I want to tell you guys. Let me look up and see. Let me go to YouTube and look up in my history. I watched this really cool Ghostbusters documentary a couple of days ago. And where is my history? Come on. Let's see. I just want to let you guys know about this thing I watched. Oh, 40 Years of Ghostbusters, the whole story never told, by the Popcast, Popcast. Go check out that documentary. It's awesome, and it's on YouTube right now. It's like an hour and 15 minutes, so it's worth your time.
You know, I found out today actually that there are real Ghostbusters pop figures,
Really?
like from the cartoon.
More
I'm
money
looking
I
at-
don't need to be spending.
I'm looking at the set of 4 with the 4 main
Lord.
characters right now.
Let me look this up. Is it on Amazon?
I believe so, yes.
Real Ghostbusters pop figures. Real Ghostbusters pop.
And the Vinkman one comes with a little Slimer.
Oh my God, I need these. Yeah, the Vankman one comes with a Slimer. It's only $9. They're only $9 a piece. Oh, they got the Royal Baubles Stay Puffed collectible bobblehead statue for $20. Why are you showing me this stuff, Derek? Come on, man.
I thought you would enjoy it.
And then up at the very top, they have a set of 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle glow-in-the-dark pops that are at the very top of the page.
A while back when we went to the mall, they had the set of all 4 turtles from the original 84 comics, where they all had red bandanas. And I'm like...
Oh, man. I can't be spending this kind of money on this stuff. Come on.
If
man.
only to have more money.
All right, patrons. We need more patrons so we can buy pop figures for ourselves. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we will